Hey, Mr. B, I'm going to use Microsoft Excel to show you how I can make this graph and then import it into Microsoft Word. So on Excel, you type in your time in minutes, and typically you would have in parentheses MIN for minutes, and then you type in your total volume of CO2 for the yeast respiration lab and your units again. And then the first thing you notice is, oh geez, it kind of cut off that minutes part, and this columns go down, rows go across. This column is too narrow for all the text there. There's a couple options. You can double click and then make that column automatically the width of whatever the widest information is in that column. The other thing is maybe I want to wrap it. So you right click and you go to Format Cells. And what you can do is you can go to alignment and you can go to wrap text. And it goes wrap. Something like that. And then you can do something like this. And okay, you might want to do something like that. Sometimes you get too much text there. And I want to center it up so you can do something like that. Okay, so at least our text looks pretty. Now let's put in our time. We did 1 minute intervals when we collected our total volume of CO2. So if you go to you see the little black square, my mouse is circling that black square. You hold your mouse right there, you click and drag, and what that is that's the same thing as copy and paste. We don't want to copy and paste one a bazillion times. What we want to do is get a series. There are a couple different ways to make a series. There's lots of clicking way, which I'm not going to show you. To me, the quickest way is I go up to there, and then I'm going to press and hold the control key. So, press and hold the control key, and it added that. So I added that other plus sign. So look at the big fat black plus, and then there's a little dinky plus. So now I'm going to click and drag. And now you see it's making a series 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I'm just going to go down. I'm dragging a little bit off the sheet. Stop at 60. And voila, there we go. We got our time in there. And then you would put in your data. I'm going to use some fake data. I just put this in here. I just put some numbers in. And now I want to make a chart. And so by the way, you grab your data, the column labels as well. Okay. And highlight all that data. And then you go to Insert. And what you're going to do is you've got a couple options. We could do a line chart, but that's not the best one to do. I could do something like this. Here's why. Because what you've got is it's going to plot two things on the same axis. Kind of gets looking wacky. That's not what we want. What we want to do is we want to insert a scatter, an XY scatter. And what that is that's doing a comparison. We want to compare total volume of CO2 versus time. So a scatter plot, XY scatter plot, and it has some different ones here. The one that's most appropriate for us is we don't need markers because we only have one piece of data. It's the volume of CO2, so we don't have to compare two pieces of data versus time. So this would probably be the best right here. Scatter with straight lines, and the first thing that comes up is just like a default graph. The legend, again, we only won't have one piece of data, so that has very little value to us, so I'm going to select it and delete it. Bye-bye. Next we need to get some titles on here, and then we'll address our chart title. What I want you to notice is when I'm selected on the chart itself, you kind of get this funky little border around there. When you have that border on there, that's an indication I'm on the chart, and then also you're going to have different things show up on here, so you can play around with all kinds of stuff. We're going to go to the layout, and you'll see that, oh, hey, chart title. If your chart title wasn't there, like this, if chart title wasn't there, I could select on chart title and go above chart and it would appear. And probably better to change this to something like yeast respiration lab or yeast respiration experiment, so I'll do that really quick. Whichever we feel is the most appropriate title, I'm fine with, as long as it's reasonable. Then we got to label the x-axis, so you go to axis titles, and the horizontal title, generally do it below, and this is going to be time. So let's Oops, gotta actually select on that. Highlight it. Huh. And then let's go to Axis Titles, Vertical. And what you'll see is this like little orange bar there. That kind of indicates what direction the text is going to go. Usually I do a rotated like that. And it's kind of funky. Okay, so it's weird selecting on it. And so then that would be the CO2 volume in mils. So CO2. Alright, and the next thing that I see here is kind of looks unprofessional because we only went to 60 minutes, right? And but the chart goes to 70. Well, that's kind of weird. There's a couple ways to mess with that. One is to select on that axis, and then you kind of have to right click in the, it's kind of tricky, but if you right click in the right spot, what happens, see, I want to look for, I'm going to try it there. I'm looking for format axis. See how I'm still selected on there, but that format axis shows up? This is what I want to get to. I want to get to this screen. Well, that's one way that you'll find that sometimes right clicking can be touchy if you're not on the right spot. Well, just remember, we're in the layout feature of our chart tools, and what we're looking for is, this would be the axis. So if you go to axis and you're looking at the horizontal axis, if you go down here to this primary horizontal axis options, it gets to that same spot as I got to with the right clicking, but like I said, right clicking can be kind of touchy. So what we want to do is change our maximum. Right now it's an auto and it's stopping it at 70. So let's fix that at 60. Change that to 60 and hit close. And there you go. So that looks a little bit better, doesn't it? Now what you can do is, make it bigger in the graph if you want. You can move it around. If by chance, this happens to me a lot, I'll kind of do something like that. All I do if I click on the wrong thing by accident, I hit Control Z, and that will be an undo for whatever the last step you did. And you could do multiple undos. Control Z again, Control Z again. You can kind of get tricky. You could also use these buttons right up here with my mouse. Alright, so then the last step is to get it into Word. What I like to do in Word is I like to make it as a picture because then it's like a snapshot. So if I decide that I want to make it smaller, it automatically scales all the text for me. And sometimes if you do it as Word, as a Excel file, I'll show you the two options here. There's a lot of options, but I'm going to be selected on the graph. I'm going to right click on the graph and I'm hitting copy. You could also do Control C. When I go into Word, I'm going to do blank page. Okay, so I'll say I had a whole bunch of text here. This is like some Russian stuff. If I did, if I right click and I did paste, you get different paste options. You can use a destination theme and embed in workbook. And so when you select on it, notice, remember how you had that little border? This is kind of acting like it would in Microsoft Excel. But notice what happens is you make it smaller, the text size stays the same, and that can be really annoying, especially if you're just trying to do some small changes and small tweaks. Sometimes you want to go even smaller, and it can be really annoying having the text size remain fixed. So we don't want to. I personally don't like to, when I paste it, I don't like to use a destination theme. What I like to do is go all the way to the right and it says picture. So if I insert it as a picture, now if I wanted to make it a little smaller, it scales everything down automatically. So this is something where, if I'm really making a nice report, I'll print it out and make sure that the font isn't outrageously small, something like that. And if it is, then you just make it so it's reasonable so that an older person that might need to have trouble reading can make it out pretty good without squinting. Okay, so that's why I like to insert it as a picture. And then, in Word, then you've got as far as format and moving it around. Right now it's stuck to the left. So I'd have to go home and I could center it up using that, so all those tricks, then it kind of makes it easy. You can do text wrapping around this, stuff like that. But those are some of the basics of an XY scatter plot and then getting an XY scatter plot into Microsoft Word. I hope you enjoyed it and you maybe learned something new. All right, thank you very much.